The 5 pilots were not heroes. At least that's what the galaxy called them. Scavengers, rebels, reckless daredevils, they had earned every name. And yet somehow they were the only ones standing between life as the galaxy knew it and total annihilation. Captain Kale sat in the worn pilot chair of the Iron Fang, staring at the holographic map of Titan. The cold blue light reflected off his tired face. His hands, calloused from years of flying through asteroid fields and war zones, shook slightly. Titan's orbit shimmered in the hologram, a massive, dark fortress of steel and fire, surrounded by thousands of smaller warships. For decades, Titan's overlords had enslaved worlds without mercy. Entire planets had been burned to ash. Their fleets were unmatched, their cruelty legendary. And now, they were coming again. Kale's eyes drifted to the other pilots. Mira, sitting opposite him, had her arms crossed tightly. Her jaw was set, but her eyes betrayed a storm of fear and anger. She had lost her home, her family, everything to Titan's drones. She had survived, but she had never forgiven. Jax, sitting near the weapons console, tapped his fingers nervously on the panel. He was the youngest of the team, yet he had seen horrors most soldiers could not imagine. His brother had died in one of Titan's raids, leaving him with nothing but guilt. Guilt that he carried like a second skin. Tora, the ship's engineer, had lived through prison camps, hidden in shadows while the galaxy fought wars without her. Her face was pale, but her eyes burned with a quiet determination. She had nothing to lose. She had seen despair up close, and she refused to let it win again. Rin, the navigator, had been a refugee, running from one system to another. Their family lost in a raid, their life defined by constant fleeing. Rin had always flown for survival, but now, for the first time, they flew for hope. Kale finally broke the silence. "We don't have a choice. Titan's fleets are already in motion. If we don't stop them, billions will die." The others nodded. No one argued. No one panicked. They had faced death before. They had faced impossible odds before. But this was different. Titan's overlords were not just ships or soldiers. They were legends. Monsters made real. Then Kale activated a small panel hidden in the console. The hologram shifted, revealing a shattered moon in a distant system. The ruins were ancient, almost forgotten, and within them was something no one had believed still existed, the ancient signal. Mira's eyes widened. That's just a myth," she whispered. "Not anymore," Kale replied. "It's real, and it's our only chance." The ancient signal was said to be older than the stars themselves, a weapon of unimaginable power, hidden long ago to prevent the galaxy from tearing itself apart. No one knew how it worked or who had created it. All that was known, it chose its wielder, and somehow, it had chosen them. Rin leaned forward, voice trembling. "Chosen us? Why us? We're not heroes, we're broken." "Exactly," Kale said, his voice low but firm. "We've lost everything. We've survived when we shouldn't have. We're the ones with nothing to protect, except the galaxy itself." Tora swallowed hard. "And if it doesn't work?" Kale's jaw tightened. "Then we die trying. But if we succeed, we stop Titan. We finally give every planet, every life a chance to live without fear." The weight of the moment settled over them. Silence filled the ship, broken only by the hum of the engines. The 5 pilots sat in stillness, each remembering what they had lost, each feeling the fear and hope coiled together inside them like a living thing. Finally, Mira spoke, voice steady despite the emotion behind it. "Then let's go. Let's bring this signal back to life. Let's give Titan something it's never seen. Fear." Kale smiled faintly, a rare warmth breaking through the tension. "You all understand. This is bigger than any of us. But together, maybe we can do it." As the Iron Fang's engines roared to life, the stars outside blurred into streaks of light. The ship leapt toward Titan's territory, 5 hearts beating as one. None of them knew what awaited them. None could guess the trials ahead. But for the first time in a long time, they felt alive. And for the first time, they knew that even broken people could make history. The galaxy had warned them. Titans would come. Worlds would fall. And yet against impossible odds, 5 savage pilots were about to face an ancient power and awaken a force the universe had long forgotten. The iron fangs sliced through the endless black of space, stars streaking past like silver rivers. Inside the ship, the 5 pilots felt the weight of what they were about to attempt pressing on their chests. Silence filled the cabin, heavy with anticipation, fear, and something else. Something unspoken that tied them together. Hope. Kale's eyes never left the hollow map of Titan. Each pulse of light from the approaching fleet reminded him that time was running out. He could feel it in his bones. Titan's overlords were aware of them. They were coming, and they would not be merciful. Mira sat beside him, her hands clasped together. She stared at the stars with a quiet intensity. Her mind drifted back to her homeworld, once lush with green forests and sparkling rivers, now nothing but ash and rubble. She had lost everyone she loved. Every memory was a wound. But now, for the first time in years, she felt a spark of purpose. Maybe she could honor them. Maybe she could finally make their deaths mean something. Jax leaned against the weapons console, tapping his fingers nervously. Memories of his brother flooded him again. The last time he had seen him screaming as Titan's drones tore through their ship. Jax had been powerless then, frozen by fear. But now, with the ancient signal guiding them, he felt something shift inside him. A fire. He could fight. He would fight. And he would not fail. Not this time. Tora adjusted the engine panels, checking the ship's status with practiced precision. She had survived prison camps, starvation, and betrayal. She had learned to trust no one, to rely only on herself. Yet here, surrounded by strangers who were becoming comrades, she felt a strange sense of connection. It was fragile, but it was there. A reminder that even in darkness, bonds could form. Rin's hands hovered over the navigation console. They had spent their life fleeing, hiding from danger. Now they were heading straight into it. Their heart pounded, but for the first time they weren't running. They were steering toward hope, not away from fear. And it terrified them more than anything else. Kale finally broke the silence. "The ancient signal isn't just a weapon," he said quietly. "It's alive. It reacts to us, our thoughts, our memories, our emotions. It will test us. It will show us our fears. But it will also give us strength." Mira laughed bitterly. "Great, a weapon that reads my mind. I hope it likes what it sees," Jax smirked. "It won't. It'll see all the guilt I carry. And it'll probably hate me too." Tora shook her head. "Maybe it doesn't judge. Maybe it just chooses. And maybe it chose us because we've already survived everything. Maybe it knows we can handle the worst." Rin's voice was barely audible. "Or maybe it's cruel and it enjoys seeing us suffer before it gives us power." Kyle leaned back, eyes narrowing. "Whatever it is, we have no choice. Titan doesn't care about suffering. It only knows destruction. If we don't face it, billions will die, and none of us can live with that." The iron fang shook slightly as it passed through a belt of jagged asteroids. Mira maneuvered expertly, weaving the ship through the chaos with calm precision. Each rock they dodged felt like a test, a reminder that survival required focus, skill, and trust in each other. They were not invincible, not yet. As they approached the coordinates of the ruined moon, the ancient archive came into view. It floated like a ghost in the void, battered by meteors and time. The hum of the ancient signal reached them even from this distance, a low vibration that resonated through the ship, through their bones, through their hearts. Tora swallowed hard. "It's real. It's alive." Mira's eyes shone with tears she did not bother to hide. "I never thought I'd see it. After everything, I thought the universe had forgotten hope." Jax's grin was faint but real. "Well, it didn't forget us. And maybe, just maybe, we're not done yet." Kyle's voice softened, almost a whisper. "This is it. Our chance. Our only chance. The galaxy is counting on us, whether it knows it or not. Let's make it matter." The 5 pilots sat together in silence, letting the hum of the ancient signal fill the cabin. It was a sound that promised power, danger, and change. They could feel it stirring within them, testing their limits, measuring their courage. And despite their fear, despite the ghosts of their pasts, they knew one thing with absolute certainty. Once the signal chose them, there would be no turning back. The Iron Fang moved steadily toward the ancient moon, 5 hearts beating as one. Each knew the risks, each understood the price. But as they stared into the void, all they could see was possibility, the chance to rewrite destiny, to stop Titan and to finally make their pain worth something. And somewhere, deep in the darkness of space, the ancient signal waited, ready to awaken. The Iron Fang shuddered as it entered Titan's outer defense zone. The 5 pilots stared at the swarming fleet that rose from the shadows of space like a storm of metal and fire. Hundreds of Titan drones, sleek and deadly, moved with precision, scanning the void for any trace of life to destroy. Mira's hands flew over the controls, fingers dancing like lightning across the panels. She weaved the ship through the first wave of lasers, the sharp beams singing past the hull. Sparks flew inside the cabin as alarms screamed, warning of impacts that never came. Every move they made was a gamble, every second a test of skill and nerve. Jax leaned into his seat, firing the ship's weapons with a mix of accuracy and desperation. Each shot tore through Titan drones, but for every ship they destroyed, 2 more appeared. His heart pounded in his chest. He could feel the memories of his brother flashing before his eyes. Helpless, screaming, gone. He used that pain as fuel, letting it sharpen his aim, focusing every ounce of anger into precision. Tora was hunched over the engine systems, her brow furrowed as she rerouted power to shields and thrusters. The ship groaned under the strain of dodging lasers and collisions. "We're pushing too hard," she warned. "The hull won't take much more." Kel gritted his teeth. "We have no choice." "Keep pushing!" "We need to get closer to the moon." Rin's voice was tense, almost shaking. "I've calculated a path, but it's risky. If we hit it wrong, the ship could tear itself apart." Kyle nodded. "Do it." "We can't wait." The Iron Fang swerved violently, dodging a barrage of plasma beams. Outside, Titan's drones seemed to adapt to every maneuver, closing in faster than anything the pilots had faced before. Yet, despite the overwhelming odds, the 5 moved as one. Every glance, every gesture, every command was instinctive. They were no longer 5 individuals. They were a single force united by desperation, fear, and the faint glimmer of hope that had led them this far. Then it happened. A deep, resonant hum vibrated through the ship. The sound was unlike anything they had heard before, low and powerful, thrumming through metal and bone alike. The ancient signal had awakened. "Do you feel that?" Mira whispered, awe creeping into her voice. "Yes," Kale replied. "It's alive." The hum grew louder, vibrating the cabin, touching every nerve. Memories, fears, and emotions swirled in their minds as if the signal could see into the depths of their souls. For a moment, the pilots froze, overwhelmed by the presence of something far older and more powerful than any weapon they had ever seen. Jax clenched his fists. "It knows us. It knows everything we've done. Everything we've lost." Tora nodded, swallowing hard. "And it doesn't care. It only responds to who we are, and what we need to become." Rin's hands trembled on the console. "If it's alive, can it protect us? Can it help us?" Kale's eyes burned with determination. "It can, but it won't, not unless we earn it. And we're going to earn it the only way we know how, by surviving this." The Iron Fang surged forward, weaving through Titan's defense grid with renewed speed and precision. The drones fired relentlessly, but the hum of the signal seemed to anticipate their every move, guiding the ship as if it had its own will. Shields flared, engines roared, and the pilots moved with a synchronicity that felt almost supernatural. A massive drone collided with the ship's hull, shaking the cabin violently. Mira gasped but kept the ship steady. Sparks flew across the control panel, smoke curling in the corners. Yet somehow they pressed on, adrenaline and courage replacing fear. Outside, the moon's ruins grew larger, jagged shapes of metal and stone silhouetted against the stars. The pilots could see the hidden archive, the source of the ancient signal. It floated silently, waiting, pulsing with power that made the air in the cabin feel electric. Cale's voice was steady now, filled with a resolve that silenced doubt. "We're almost there. Just a little closer. Whatever happens, we hold together. No one dies alone." Mira, Jax, Tora, and Rin nodded, their faces set with determination. They had faced death before, yes, but this was different. This was destiny, raw and unyielding, calling them to act. The first wave of Titan's drones fell behind as the Iron Fang accelerated, guided by something older than the stars themselves. The hum of the signal became a song of power and defiance. It was a warning, a promise, and a challenge. And the 5 pilots, hearts pounding and souls alight with courage, were ready to answer. The hum of the ancient signal filled the cabin of the Iron Fang, a vibration that resonated deep in the bones of the 5 pilots. It was not just a sound, it was a presence, alive and ancient, brushing against their minds with tendrils of energy. Each pilot felt it differently: fear, memory, pain, hope, love lost, and battles won. The signal was seeing them, measuring them, and they were powerless to resist. Mira pressed a hand against her chest. Her breathing was shallow. She could see flashes of her destroyed homeworld, smoke rising, families fleeing, her parents' faces frozen in terror. And yet in the same vision she felt warmth, an invisible hand holding hers, telling her that she could fight back. It knows me," she whispered, tears blurring her vision. Kyle's jaw tightened. He felt the signal probing him, sifting through years of guilt and regret. The memories of comrades he had failed, of planets he couldn't save, all rose to the surface. He wanted to push them away, to close himself off, but something inside urged him to let the signal see everything. I'm ready," he said, almost to himself. "Do what you must." Jax's mind swirled with images of his brother, screaming as Titan's drones consumed their ship. He had hated himself for surviving, for running when he should have fought. And now the signal offered understanding. No judgment, only acceptance. His hands shook as he gripped the controls. It feels like it knows my pain, and it wants to help." Tora was trembling, but she did not speak. Her memories were darker. Days of hunger, nights of cold, whispers of betrayal in prison camps. Yet the signal reached into those shadows, warming them with light she hadn't felt in decades. Her fingers danced over the engine panels, rerouting energy, feeling the ship respond to her thoughts. "It's alive. It's listening. It's with us," she breathed. Rin's eyes widened as visions of fleeing ships and burning cities swirled in their mind. They had always run, hiding from danger, hiding from responsibility. But now the signal was calling them forward. Courage bloomed in their chest, strange and foreign but undeniable. "I've never felt anything like this," they whispered. "It trusts us, even though we're broken." Kale's voice cut through the awe. "Listen, the signal isn't just showing us our pain. It's teaching us, guiding us. We have the power now, but we have to control it. We cannot let Titan see weakness." The hum grew into a vibration that could almost be felt in the heart. Lights of strange colors flickered across the cabin, wrapping around the pilots, syncing with their heartbeats. The ship's systems pulsed with new energy, shields glowing brighter than ever before. They were no longer just 5 humans in a fragile ship. They were conduits for something far greater, far older than the galaxy itself. Mira gasped as she felt the energy respond to her emotions. A simple thought, anger at the destruction of her home, flared through the ship's weapons, guiding them toward the distant Titan drones. She had never felt so powerful, so focused. "It's giving us strength," she whispered, awe in her voice. Jax laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. But beneath it he felt hope. Anger, grief, fear. All of it had been transformed into something useful, something unstoppable. We can fight them. Really fight them," he said, disbelief and wonder mixed together. Tora's hands moved automatically, rerouting power to every part of the ship. The engines roared as if alive, responding to her will. She could feel the signal flowing through her, shaping her thoughts, amplifying her focus. "It's perfect," she murmured, amazed. "I've never felt this alive." Rin's voice was trembling, but there was determination there. "It's showing us what we are. Not just survivors, but warriors. Not just humans, but something more." Kyle looked at each of them, pride and awe swelling in his chest. "We have the signal now. It's ours to wield. But remember, Titan will not wait. They will attack and they will try to destroy us before we can even strike. Stay close, trust it. Trust each other." Outside the ship, the ruined moon pulsed faintly, a beacon of power in the darkness. The ancient signal had awakened, and the 5 pilots were its chosen wielders. It hummed in time with their hearts, guiding, strengthening, and challenging them. The first real battle was coming. Titan's overlords would not surrender. They would not flee. But the signal had chosen its warriors carefully, broken hearts, hardened souls, and fearless minds. Together they would not just survive. They would change the course of history. And in that moment, as the 5 pilots floated in the void, connected to something older than the stars themselves, they understood a truth that would carry them through the horrors to come. Pain could be power. Fear could be strength, and hope, even fragile hope, could become a weapon. The signal had awakened, and with it so had they. The Iron Fang shivered as it emerged from the shadow of Titan's ruined moon. Ahead, Titan's overlords revealed themselves. A fleet of enormous warships, each larger than a city, bristling with weapons that could wipe out entire planets. But above all, looming in the center of the formation, were the overlords themselves. Towering beings of metal and living flesh, eyes glowing with a cold, unyielding intelligence. Kale's voice was calm, but every word carried weight. "This is it. We don't fight to survive, we fight to end them." Mira's hands tightened on the controls. She felt the ancient signal coursing through her veins, amplifying her focus, sharpening her reflexes. The weapons responded to her thoughts. Each pulse of energy from the ship was directed by her mind, guided by the hum of the signal. "Then let's give them a lesson they'll never forget," she said, voice trembling with a mix of fear and excitement. Jax grinned, the first true smile in years. "I've waited my whole life for this." He leaned into the firing controls, letting his grief and anger flow through him. Each shot tore into Titan's drones with uncanny accuracy. Every explosion fueled by memory and pain, sharpened into unyielding precision. Tora adjusted the energy channels, feeling the ship bend to her will. "The signal responds to us. Every command, every thought, it obeys." Sparks of energy danced across the ship's hull as they prepared for the final assault. "We can hit them harder than anything they've ever faced." Rin's fingers flew over the navigation panel. "Hold together. Stay in sync. We're stronger as one." Their voice was steady now, though their heart pounded with adrenaline. They felt fear, yes, but it was the kind of fear that sharpened senses instead of paralyzing them. "Let's finish this." Titan's fleet opened fire. Lasers tore across space, plasma bolts shrieked through the void, and the Iron Fang shuddered under the first impacts. But the ancient signal responded. Shields flared brighter than ever, diverting energy to areas under threat. The ship moved as if alive, dancing through attacks with an elegance that defied physics. Kale's voice rose over the comms. "Now focus everything on the central overlords." Mira felt the signal pulse with approval, as if urging her to take control fully. She concentrated, letting the raw energy of the signal flow through her mind, through the ship, through every system at her command. Titan's warships trembled under the force of their assault, shields flickering and weapons faltering. The overlords roared, an unnatural sound that shook the void, a mix of machine and living flesh. Their eyes blazed with fury. They had not encountered anything like this before. Fear was a foreign emotion to them, and yet it was now creeping into their awareness. Jax's laughter cut through the chaos, wild and triumphant. "They're scared," he shouted, letting the signal guide every shot, every strike. Every strike was precise, every hit devastating, and every hit fueled by their memories, their losses, their unbroken will. Tora's hands moved in perfect rhythm with the ship's systems. Engines roared, shields flared, weapons pulsed. They underestimated us. They underestimated what humans can do, what we can survive. Rin's voice rose above the din. "Keep together. Don't let fear break the formation." They guided the ship through impossible maneuvers, the ancient signal enhancing their instincts, their speed, their courage. Kale felt something he had never felt before. Pure, unyielding power, flowing through them, through the ship, through the universe itself. "This is our moment," he whispered. "This is the day Titan falls." The Iron Fang unleashed a concentrated wave of energy, the ancient signal at full power. The beams tore through Titan's central overlords, who staggered under the assault. Their eyes widened in disbelief. They had ruled for centuries, crushing entire civilizations without mercy. And yet here were 5 humans, mere specks of life in the galaxy, wielding a force they could not comprehend. Mira gasped as another beam struck a Titan dreadnought, reducing it to fragments that scattered like shooting stars. We're doing it!" Jax's grin was fierce. "We're unstoppable," Tora whispered, almost in awe. "It's beautiful. And terrifying." Rin clenched the console, voice resolute. "We are the storm they never saw coming." Kyle looked at his team, at the ship alive with power, at the enemies crumbling under their assault. He felt pride, fear, joy, and grief all at once. Hold nothing back. For the galaxy, for everyone they've hurt, the Overlords tried to retaliate. But the signal anticipated every strike, every maneuver. The pilots were no longer 5 broken souls. They were one force, a hurricane of light, courage, and vengeance. Titan's fleet began to falter. Ships exploded, shields collapsed, and the central Overlord stumbled. The galaxy had never witnessed anything like this. The 5 pilots, once considered reckless and disposable, had become the instrument of a power older than the stars. And for the first time in centuries, Titan's Overlords felt something they had never known. Fear. The battlefield was chaos incarnate. Titan's fleet, once a seemingly endless wave of destruction, now lay in fragments, drifting like broken stars through the void. The 5 pilots of the Iron Fang pressed forward, hearts pounding, minds sharp, and the ancient signal thrumming through every fiber of their being. Kale gritted his teeth, eyes scanning the wreckage of Titan's dreadnoughts. "They're trying to retreat," he said, voice tense. "But there's no running from this." Mira's hands flew over the controls, directing energy blasts toward fleeing warships. Her heart raced, adrenaline mixing with something deeper. Sorrow, anger, and a strange exhilaration. Each explosion reminded her of everything she had lost. Each ship that fell was a piece of justice, a voice for the millions Titan had destroyed. "They can't escape what they've done," she whispered. Jax laughed, sharp and wild. The sound was filled with release, a catharsis for years of guilt and fear. "Finally," he said. "Finally someone is paying them back." Tora's eyes were bright, wide with awe, as she monitored the ship's systems. The ancient signal had fully integrated with the Iron Fang, responding to their thoughts, amplifying their will. "It's alive," she murmured almost reverently. "And it's with us. We can end this." Rin's hands flew over the navigation controls, guiding the Iron Fang through debris and collapsing warships. "Hold steady," they called. "The signal will follow us. Titan cannot outrun it." From the center of the fleet, the Titan Overlords screamed. Their voices were unearthly, a combination of metal grinding against metal and flesh screaming in pain. Kale could feel it even in the cabin, a fear unlike anything the galaxy had ever known. The Overlords, who had ruled with absolute power for centuries, were trembling. They had never imagined that 5 humans could wield something capable of breaking them. Kyle clenched his fists. "This is it!" "Don't let up. For every planet, for every life they've destroyed, The Iron Fang pulsed with light as the ancient signal flowed through its hull. Weapons discharged in waves of pure energy, slicing through the remaining Titan warships with precision and fury. The Overlords tried to fight back, but every move they made was anticipated, countered, and shattered. Mira's voice shook, but she was resolute. "We're finishing this. We have to finish this." She pressed a hand against the console, feeling the signal respond to her determination, amplifying her willpower into something unstoppable. Jax's laughter turned to shouts of triumph as a massive dreadnought exploded into fragments. "Yes, this is our fight. This is what we were meant to do." Tora's voice was quiet but fierce. "The signal trusts us. It's giving us the chance to save everything. Don't let it go to waste." Rin's eyes were sharp, scanning the void for the last remaining threats. "They're scattered. They're panicking. Keep pushing forward." Titan's Overlords tried one last desperate assault, a wave of energy meant to destroy the Iron Fang. Kale felt it coming and shouted, "Now! Full force!" The ancient signal responded instantly, a wave of energy cascading from the ship enveloping the Overlords. Their cries turned to disbelief as their ships collapsed around them. Systems failed. Shields buckled. Flesh and metal twisted under the power they could not comprehend. The Overlords tried to flee, but the signal hunted them relentlessly, tearing through the void and leaving nothing but silence in its wake. Mira let out a long breath, tears streaming down her face. It's over." Jack slumped in his seat, exhausted but smiling. "I can't believe it." "We actually did it." Tora shook her head in disbelief, voice soft. We survived, and we won." Rin's fingers hovered over the controls, hands still trembling. "The galaxy. It's free. For now." Kale looked around at the team, pride and awe swelling in his chest. "We've changed everything," he said quietly. "The Overlords are gone. Titan's fleet, destroyed. The galaxy has a chance to breathe again." The void was quiet now, save for the hum of the Iron Fang and the lingering pulse of the ancient signal. The 5 pilots sat together, battered, exhausted, and changed forever. They had faced impossible odds, confronted beings that had once seemed invincible, and emerged victorious. And in that silence, they felt it, the weight of everything they had lost, the lives they had honored, and the responsibility that still lay ahead. The galaxy was free, yes, but the cost had been immense. Kyle placed a hand on the console, voice barely a whisper. "We did it. But this is only the beginning. The signal chose us, and now it will guide the galaxy. Through us." Mira nodded, wiping her tears. "We were broken once, but now we're whole in a way I never imagined." Jax leaned back, exhaustion softening his features. Broken warriors who saved billions. Who would have thought? Tora's eyes glimmered with quiet pride. "We survived. We proved that even the smallest, most reckless can change destiny." Rin's voice was soft but resolute. "And we'll face whatever comes next. Together." The Iron Fang drifted through the aftermath of Titan's destruction, 5 pilots bound by courage, loss, and hope. The ancient signal pulsed softly as if acknowledging their victory. They had survived the impossible, unleashed a power older than the stars, and made the Overlords of Titan flee. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy was free, and the 5 savage pilots knew one truth above all. They had become legends. Silence settled over the void. The ruins of Titan's fleet drifted like fallen stars, glowing faintly in the distance. The 5 pilots of the Iron Fang floated among them, hearts still pounding, bodies aching, and minds buzzing with the enormity of what they had just accomplished. The ancient signal pulsed softly around the ship, a gentle reminder of the power they had unleashed and survived. Kale leaned back in his chair, staring at the wreckage through the viewport. He could still hear echoes of the battle, the screams of the Overlords and the cries of destruction. For centuries, Titan had ruled with fear. Now they were gone. Their empire shattered, their dominance broken. Kale allowed himself a long, shaky breath. "We did it," he whispered, almost as if saying it out loud could make it real. "We actually did it." Mira sat beside him, staring at her hands as though trying to remember they were still alive. Tears streaked her face, but there was a light in her eyes, a fragile, unshakable hope. "We fought for everyone they hurt, everyone we lost, and we won," she said softly. "It feels unreal." Jax laughed quietly, leaning against the weapons console. The sound was a mixture of relief, disbelief, and joy. I never thought I'd live to see this day. All those years. All the guilt, the fear. It led here, and somehow it was worth it. His eyes glimmered with something he hadn't felt in years. Peace. Tora's fingers traced the edge of the engine panel, still humming faintly with the residual energy of the signal. The ship. It feels alive, she murmured. Not just the signal, it's like it's thanking us. We've survived something no one else could. Her voice trembled, filled with awe and exhaustion. Rin sat quietly, hands resting on the console. They had spent their life fleeing, hiding, running from danger, and now for the first time they didn't have to. They had faced the impossible, fought the unstoppable, and survived. We changed the galaxy, Rin said softly. Not as soldiers, not as heroes, but as people who refused to give up. Cal looked at each of them in turn, pride swelling in his chest. They had been called reckless, disposable, broken, but together they had done what no one else could. We were just 5 humans, he said quietly. And yet, we changed everything. The galaxy is free and it's because of us. Mira smiled faintly, still tired but resolute. The signal chose us, maybe because we had nothing left to lose. But we chose to fight. We chose to protect the innocent, to honor the lost. That's what made us stronger than them. Jax nodded, voice soft now. We were savages, wild, reckless, but savages who never gave up. And somehow, that was enough. Tora's gaze drifted to the stars beyond the viewport. We've seen destruction, pain, and death. But we've also seen what hope looks like when it's defended with everything you have. Rin's eyes glimmered with quiet determination. We'll face whatever comes next. The galaxy may never know our names, may never tell our story. But that doesn't matter. We know what we did. And that's enough. The ancient signal pulsed one last time, a gentle wave that filled the ship with warmth. It had chosen them, it had guided them, and now it seemed to rest, leaving the 5 pilots changed forever. They had held the power of something older than stars and used it with courage, unity, and heart. The iron fang drifted slowly through the debris, 5 souls forever intertwined by the battle they had fought together. Each of them carried scars, physical and emotional, but also a light that could not be extinguished. They had faced death, the impossible, and even the wrath of gods, and they had emerged victorious. Kale finally spoke, voice low but certain. We are not heroes in their stories. We are not legends to the galaxy yet, but in our hearts, we are something more. Survivors, fighters, saviors, Mira nodded, leaning back with a sigh of relief. And we will keep fighting. Not for glory, not for recognition, but because it's right. Because the galaxy deserves hope. Jack smiled, exhausted but alive. Broken people can do incredible things. We are proof, Tora whispered softly, almost to herself. We've been given a second chance. Let's not waste it. Rin's eyes scanned the stars, calm now, focused. Together, always together. The 5 pilots sat in silence, letting the weight of their journey settle over them. Titan had fallen. The Overlords had fled. The galaxy was free. And in that quiet moment they allowed themselves something rare. A deep, unshakable sense of peace. The iron fang glided through the void, carrying the 5 savage pilots who had unleashed the ancient signal, faced impossible odds and changed the course of history. Their names might never be spoken aloud. Their deeds might fade into legend or myth, but in the hearts of those who had survived, their story would live forever. And as the stars stretched endlessly before them, the 5 pilots knew one truth with certainty. They were no longer broken. They were alive. They were free. And the galaxy would never forget the day 5 savage pilots made the Overlords of Titan break and flee.